Okay, it was about time I started to do a review on my latest cooking setup. I recently got a stove from Mini Bowl Design that I'm adding to my kit. It seems to work very well. This is called the Choke Hazard. As you can see, it's about the size of a tea light. You open it up, there's a filler tube inside, and then a small wick. The whole apparatus is about the size of a tea light, a little taller, and that's the entire stove. Anyway, I'm going to flip the camera angle around a little bit so you can see some of what I'm working with. And you can see that's basically it. Now, it's fueled off of alcohol, and this is the alcohol that's used. This is methanol. You buy this at any auto parts store, convenience store, AM, PM, whatever. It's pretty cheap. Walmart, so far, has had the best deal. I can usually get 4 of these for $5. There's 12 fluid ounces each. The problem is that the filler tube is designed to be opened once, then dumped into your gas tank, so it doesn't dispense very well. It ends up being kind of a mess. So you want to get yourself one of these style of bottles. It's the one that has the flip-up lid like that, and it seems to get a little more control, so you don't get alcohol everywhere when you go to fuel things. So what I found basically is that with the stove you have to have some type of stove stand, and the one that I got from Mini Bowl is here. It's just simply hardware cloth, and you can see that they left a notch here, one place where the hose can pass through, so you can put it on the top like so, and then the filler tube there, you fill that with alcohol. It goes down the filler tube and causes this. You light this, and then you cook on that. Now, this works as it is fairly well, but I have for a while been using a different system. I had made a small penny stove, which is basically 2 Red Bull containers rammed together with holes drilled around the outside and a filler hole in the middle, which you then cover over with a penny, and then put it inside my pot stand, which is an old can with holes drilled around the top and the bottom, and then a hole big enough to pass a tea light or something inside of. Now this was nice in that you could take your tea light, your standard tea light candle, and throw it inside, and this would cause whatever's inside of it to stay warm. It wasn't very good for cooking. With this one alone, that would also fit inside, like so, and that would cook so much that it would actually overboil things. It became a little excessive. I found that the vent holes cause almost any stove in here to produce more heat because it creates an updraft. So when you put the pot on top of it, it leaves room for the heat to come up and then out the sides. Most of the time it'll create flames would come out the sides as well as through the bottom, which really created a lot of heat. I could reduce that by using another can like this and then setting it inside the first can like that. And it would create a situation where there's a gap in between the 2 cans, and the air would travel through there, still allowing for ventilation to come up through, but it would slow the burn rate down somewhat of what was inside there. And I'd put the first stove inside that, and there you go. That would slow it down to a lighter simmer. But since I've got this new choke hazard, what I found is, and the downside here is that once you fill this, whatever's in there, you light it, and then it goes until it runs out of fuel. You can't add any more, and you have to wait for it to cool down. This system is much better in that it has a remote fueling, so I can continue to add fuel as it's burning and cook indefinitely. So if I want to cook off some rice or something bigger, it wasn't a problem. This, being as small as it is, I made my opening just a little bit larger, and it allows me to place the choke hazard stove inside. And the added power of the updraft that's created from the air coming in here and out the top easily triples the heat output that I've seen come out of the stove. Far better than the simple windscreen that I got from them. This puts out a lower amount of heat. Now, this system, as I got it from Mini Bull, is a lot lighter. The choke hazard and this together is a lot lighter than probably even the can by itself. But size, what I found mostly in packing with, the weight isn't as much of an issue as the size. And this isn't too bad, being that all of this, with the stove and all, nests inside of itself, even with the choke hazard on top. And I'll show you with the tea light. I can put the tea light inside there, and it all fits pretty well. So we have the, a good overall system for cooking. Anyway, I'll fuel this thing up real quick and light it and give you an idea what's going on. Oh, one other thing. When you're making these, the pots, you want this to be the thinnest possible aluminum, because thinner aluminum will give you a faster boil time. So there are a couple of different types of pots people have made. I kind of like this. This works good for me. This is it's a Heineken mini keg. And what I've done is I've taken one of those side opening can openers and gone around the outside of it so the lid stays intact rather than opening it. And I just put a screw through the bottom and then put a wire nut on the top, and there's my pot handle, so I can take that and fill that up, and this is what I can make my tea with. There's 4 cups of water, like so, and we're good to go. Now, this pot stand that Tinny gives, the small one for the choke hazard, fits inside that ring, so it's stable there. This can that I have here, which is an old fruit cocktail can, fits on the outside of that ring to stabilize it. So both work pretty well. That one holds it from there. This one holds it from the inside. Both are relatively stable. So anyway, simple matter of putting the stove inside. Tinny suggests that you prop up the fuel reservoir so it's a little higher, so it fits real nicely on a tea light, because it's actually the same size. Have this nice little bottle, like so, and we fill that up. There we go. So the fuel's in there, and it follows down the tube until it gets in here to the wick, like so. And now I need to light it, and I think I need to put the camera down for a second in order to do that. A moment. So, quick word from lighting, I always carry on my keychain, I got my little keychain set, right? You get your magnesium flint fire starter block I always have, small flashlight. I like the Gerber artifact, it's kind of a nice little deal. Gives you a little knife you can strike with, it's like a hobby blade with the crowbar. So instead of using your knife as a crowbar, you have a crowbar to use as a crowbar. And then of course a P38. And then of course my little Gerber multi-tool, which I use in my pocket most of the time. So that's what I light the thing with. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and cover this thing up. And I'm going to go shut off the lights and then come right back to this, because you'll see the flame better in the dark, because it's methanol, and methanol burns a nice blue. So we want to be able to see that, and it's hard to see that in full light. So let's see what we can come up with. Alrighty, we come back in and see if we can see inside there or not. There we go. You can see it's a very small flame. I don't know if the lighting's very good, but it's a very small flame looking down inside of it. It's the whole blue flame thing in photography. One day I'll figure out the lighting on this, how to do it the best. But Once it heats up, you'll see that there's the holes. We'll hope that this shows up better. But you can see the holes near the top of the can really going. So that flame is actually getting drawn up quite a bit further than it would normally because of the draft. Turn the light back on, maybe it'll... The whole trick of photographing blue flame with a digital camera is kind of fun, but I don't know if you can see it or not. Alright, so there's the stove. You can see it's coming up to the top like this, and give it a few minutes it'll actually start to come out those holes as well. So not only is it heating the entire bottom of the can, but it'll blow flame out the holes. Now what we got here, and I've gotten over rambunctious in the past with other stoves, so I've got a little bit singed, but this stuff is pretty much flame proof. It doesn't light up. This is putting around the side of it. All this is drywall tape. Drywall tape, like the yellow stuff you get. I think I have some white. I don't know where I put the white stuff, but it's just basically like the yellow stuff you get at the hardware store. I had some stuff that was just white around here somewhere. Here we go. Here we go. Our white tape. Measuring the camera, and you can tell the lighting's horrible for this. Anyway, this stuff, fiberglass, doesn't burn, so you put it around the outside, and if you're not over rambunctious with it, like I was, I put this on a thing that was blowing flame all the way up the sides of the pot, and it never really fired, but it did brown it a bit and cook some of the glue off. But it makes a really good pot holder. So once this thing gets hot, you can still grab it like so and pick it up even when it's boiling and not burn your hand. So now you have a combination of a really thin pot. The Heineken mini keg seems to work the best because while being thin, there's a lot of curves and bends on the outside of the pot, and these curves and bends create strength so it doesn't crush as much. Now, a lot of people use the Foster's cans as well, and the Foster cans are easier to open with the can opener along the top. You might go through a couple Heineken kegs before you get the top off correctly, and even after you get through the cutting with the can opener, the side can opener, you get them at Walmart for about $10. But once you get through with that, there's like a glue that's still holding it down, and you got to kind of mess with it and, you know, try to get it off. But it's worth it. It does make a better pot, and it does heat very quickly. So anyway, that's the basics. Some real quick things is that this is a methanol, uses gasoline antifreeze in almost any gas station around the U.S. You can also use other forms of alcohol, but what happens is that this or denatured alcohol, which you get at the hardware store called SLX, I think they use it for painting or taking stripping grease off parts or something, works pretty well, but it costs a little bit more, I found, than the heat, and it's not as readily available, whereas this is almost every gas station. Now, when you travel internationally, what you'll find is that when you go to look for white gas, like Coleman fuel, most places I've been don't have it. And when you start looking around at stoves that are multi-fuel that run on kerosene or diesel, you get overseas and you find that the kerosene, first off, either don't have it, or it's a different grade, or it's the wrong viscosity, or it has too much sulfur in it, so that you'd never want to cook on it. And the diesel is a similar thing. There's different grades of diesel fuel, and then you have this problem with fuel names and everything else. But pretty much everywhere you go, you can get high-grade alcohol. That's a universal thing in every country. So you can, in Russia, you can get high-grade vodka. That will be 190 proof or better, because 200 proof is 100%. So you get high-grade vodka, you can use denatured alcohol, you can use gasoline antifreeze, you can use, if you have to, isopropyl. Doesn't burn as clean, but it works. Any of these alcohols will work. And being that this takes so little fuel to run, this is a 4-ounce bottle, and to heat that up, you're looking at basically about an ounce. So that's about 16 ounces of water on 16 ounces of water on an ounce of alcohol, and that bottle of heat is 12 ounces. So you can do it a dozen times. That's enough to make your top ramen, your coffee, whatever each time. So you're cooking, you're living normally, and you're doing it on a low pack weight, low cost, low fuel, and you're not looking around trying to explain what white gas is to people who've never heard of it before. Because unlike the U.S., most places I've gone, especially in the mission field, the idea of camping is a foreign concept. They're already living in poverty, so they're doing their best to live as normal as they can. They're not looking to go back out in the woods. So anyway, that's just a basic. I'm hoping to do some more videos here in the near future. I'll probably somewhere else besides the workshop where the lighting's a little bit better, and we'll talk about some more of the gear and whatnot. There is a gear list of some of the stuff that I'll be covering that's on Amazon. I have it under list.donfinney, that's PH for Finney, donfinney.com. And you can go up there and take a look at it, and it has some of the missionary gear that I'll be reviewing, and we'll talk about that as well as some other things that's going on in the world. Anyway, until next time, this is Don saying goodbye.